we got 14. Good morning.
Morning.
I realize that the default for Zoom is to do this waiting room thing. And so hopefully next class, you won't have to do that. So hopefully you'll just pop right in and I won't have to do the waiting room thing. Well, good morning. I'm Professor Z, or Zazworski, but Z is easier to say and remember. And it's nice to meet all of you. Trying to see if there's any names that look familiar, but I don't see any. So it's time to, if you guys can, if you have the ability and you can, share your video with me, just because I don't know you at all. I kind of want to get a little bit of a face with the name. As the class proceeds, I don't have to see your faces all the time, but it is nice to get a name to go with the face, or a picture to go with the face. Since I don't have, I didn't get a download of the attendance roster with everybody's picture in it. So right now I'm just quickly trying to take roll, and I'm trying to see who else here. So Morgan's here, and is it Nahir? Did I say that right? Hi, Nahir.
It's Nair.
Nair. So the H is kind of silent. You roll it into the,
Yes.
like a Y.
Yes.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
The reason I'm looking sideways is because my other computer that I'm taking roll on is over here. And I'm really trying to figure out why my, there we go. That's a little bit better. I couldn't figure out why my list was not alphabetized, but I figured it out. Hi, Ben. Nice to meet you. Okay, I gotcha. Hi, Colin. Nice to meet you. And Micah, we already said you. And let's see, Wenger. So I got that. Hi, Bryce. And Ezekiel, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Hi, Michelle. Is it Michelle Lay or Michelle Lee?
You can just say Michelle Lee.
Michelle Lee. Okay. Sometimes in some languages, the E is a short sound and sometimes it's a long sound. You never can tell. Hi, Kelsey. And hi, Bailey.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Arelis or Arelise?
Arelise.
Arelise. Okay, I just mispronounced it both times, but I'll get that better and better every time. And is it Tien?
Yeah.
Oh, 10. Okay, I'll try to get better at that as well. And Yesh?
Here.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Brooke. Oh, let me get into the admit all. I got a few people in that waiting room. All right.
Yo, everybody got their video.
Yeah, if you can get just for a few minutes, I just don't know any of you, and I would like to, I understand about bandwidth and things like that, so the only time that I will try to adhere to videos being on all the time is either when you are speaking, like it, because that's just courtesy to all of us, and then secondly, it's when we take a test on D2L. I have to proctor the test because that's how our department runs it. So the way we have, instead of making you go to Examity, which is a little bit more of an issue, we're going to, I'm just going to run on Zoom, and you're going to have your videos on, and it's not foolproof, of course, so I'm hoping that you're all honest, but you really don't have time to refer to the book or to notes when you're taking my test, so I'm not too concerned, but it would be kind of like you were sitting in desks in a classroom and I was sitting up front, with eyeballs on you, is basically what we're striving for. So let's see if there's anybody else in the waiting room. I don't see anyone else. Gosh, we've got a full class this semester, so I'm happy to see that. And so, like I said, if you can put your video on just for a few minutes, just so I can see you.
Narrator dialogue.
No,
Okay.
Okay, I do
Exiting
not understand
narrator.
this. Thank you. I don't know why my service always does that, but it does. So, okay. So I'd like to get to know each of you a little bit more, and so you can get to know me a little bit. I am Monica Zazworski. I went to Texas Tech University for my bachelor's and my master's degree in economics. My bachelor's is actually a business degree in economics, and then I worked for the state of Washington in their child support enforcement office for a few years. And my husband is Air Force, or was Air Force, and so I moved around a lot. So I've lived in 4 countries, 14 states, I think. I've been to 48 states. The only 2 states I'm missing are North and South Dakota. I've looked at the economies in many different countries, mainly in Europe, a few in Africa, and a couple in Central America. And those are, that's been eye-opening to me to get to have the honor of traveling to those places, and many of them I lived in. And it's different when you live in a place than when you just go on vacation to a place. So I've gotten to see economies and have different ones, different styles, and see how they run, and whether their citizens. Of course, there are some that like it and some that don't, just like there are in our country. So it's that's kind of universal. But it's been intriguing to have that honor to be able to look around and see different ways of doing things and different ways of approaching things, and not always feeling very egocentric as far as America can be accused of, where we, we're only concerned with what we do here. So it's a world economy, and what we do affects others, and what they do affects us. So it's going to be fun for us to learn all about that, and I hope that you get as excited about economic news as I do. So I have been, I have 2 kids that are, they graduated from Pitt, and they're in their own careers in grad school now. And my husband is retired from the Air Force now, so I'm in the area for a while. And I work at Hack, and I work at Gettysburg College. So I teach at 2 colleges. So I've been kind of happy that we got to stay on Zoom, because I didn't have to drive the hour and 15 minutes from Gettysburg to Lancaster 4 days a week. So that's my car is very appreciative. All right, so how many of you, if you don't have your video on because of any kind of techno issues, that's fine. But see if you can find reactions at the bottom of your Zoom screen so that at least you could put a thumbs up for me, so that I can make sure you know how to do that. Cool. Can all of you find it? I'm going to take this as broad applause. I'm really happy. How about Nalia? You got it? Very bottom says reactions. You can wave and thumbs up, I think is all they gave us. All right. So how many of you, thumbs up, are business majors? Okay. How about nursing? Okay. Yeah, we always have a few nurses involved, and I'll explain to you why that's important for you to get econ. What about engineers, future engineers? I know we don't have an engineering degree per se at HAC, but that you want to be an engineer. Great. Another discipline that uses econ a lot. And how about political science or international affairs? Any of those policy wonks out there? No? Okay, cool. So predominantly business, some nursing, some engineer. Ben's got a couple, either his thumb's been up or he's got a couple of degrees that he is working on at one time. Are you double majoring?
Well, the plan is to do like econ and international relations at some point. Yeah.
So here's my other question. How many of you feel like you've already started using economics just this morning? Oh, this is gonna be sweet. So guess what? You've been using economics since you came out of your mother. And you use it until you die. And then the earth uses us, you know, if you want to go into biosystems use economics as well. So you use it 24/7, 365 days a year. And you right now you're going, oh yeah, right, sure. You do. All economics is the study of choice making. It's basically how do human beings make choices on things? How do firms make choices? How does the government make a choice? And how does the rest of the world make choices that impact our economies? We have economies that are personal, like you have your own economy, I have mine. And then all of us together in our families have an economy, or a household is what economists call it. You have economies local, state, federal in the United States. You have a global economy. So economies can be any size, any shape, any makeup of people, and they're a wonderful thing to study. So basically, human beings are, and anything on earth that's biological is faced with scarcity. And what I mean by that is time. If we're a biological creature, we don't get to live forever. So we have a limited amount of time. So this morning, when you woke up, first of all, you chose to wake up at a certain time so you'd make it to our class on time. That was one way of using economics, because you could have been asleep right now, and that would give you some value, right? Give you some satisfaction in life. You're sleep dreaming, maybe it's all good stuff, no COVID times or anything like that. You're in the perfect relationship with the perfect life economically, in terms of you have all the money you want. So in a dream state, you have unlimited wants that can be satisfied. In the real world, though, you have limited resources. You have limited time. You have limited capital, which is the physical things we use in our lives. You have limited land or natural resources. You have limited labor to provide to the labor market. And you have limited entrepreneurship skills. Especially right now, you're all learning about entrepreneurship skills, which are improving on your human capital. So every one of us, as soon as we make a choice, we've used economics. So that's why in our field, we think it's so important that everybody learn about economics. And it is kind of like a foreign language mixed with some math. So you do have a new vocabulary to learn. We're a social science, meaning that we run models and we make hypotheses. We collect data. We run our tests using the model as our framework. We come out with results and we see if those results support our hypotheses, just like any other social science performs. So it's very important for us to learn about our economies, both personal, our families or households, and our nation. In this class, we learn about the national economy. So that's anything like the US unemployment rate. We'll learn about how they calculate that. What does it mean? Why do we care? We'll learn about inflation for the nation. We'll learn about the national economic growth rates or increase in real gross domestic product, which is all the stuff that we make in America in our 50 borders, in our 50 state borders. So we'll learn about all of those. We'll learn about how other countries come in a relationship to our economy. So international, how the rest of the world impacts our economy and how we impact the rest of the world. It used to be said a while back that when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. And what that meant was if America had a bad time, maybe a financial collapse or something, and we were the ones that started it. So in 2008, we started a financial collapse here, not really a collapse, but a panic in the United States, dealing with real estate issues. We'll go over that later. And financial debt crises is basically a foundational pillar of the 2008 recession. The rest of the world eventually got a recession as well, even though they didn't experience the same real estate price bubbles that we did. So it means that we are all connected. And in these COVID days, oh my gosh. Okay, so we didn't start the fire, as Billy Joel would have said in his song, but we caught it, right? COVID it doesn't care about borders. It just goes from person to person. Its international relationships are person to person. All right. So it doesn't care about the national borders that we have. However, all of that. Oh, I'm so sorry. Here we go. We'll let these guests in. Hello. So I'm just talking about our course. Sorry, I didn't get you all quickly into the class. So so how we hear about our national economy is through the news predominantly. So I really encourage all of you, here, I'll put it in a chat. There's one website or podcast that I listen to most days. And they have a website and everything. It's all economic news all the time. So place.org. So if you find this website or listen to it, it's on the radio, regular radio every day. On the National Public Radio Station. But there's Bloomberg has Econ News, MSNBC, Fox News, all of them have their own Econ news websites. I don't care which one you listen to. This class is not about what your political slant is. I don't care. I'm hoping that you don't know what my political slant is by the time we get done with the class. My job is to teach you to look at both sides or many sides of an issue and then make a judgment yourself based on your beliefs and your economic system that you have in your family or your household or your country and come up with an opinion. Okay, so it is not about, I'm not saying that one side's right, one side's wrong. If you're looking at, let's say, Republican and Democrat, I don't care. So I'm just trying to get you to understand what the issues are and why let's say you're a Republican and you don't understand why the Democrats view, I don't know, their view on how COVID would be impacting the economy. And you don't understand where they're coming from. And if you're a Democrat, you might not understand why the Republicans view that opportunity needs to be equal. as opposed to, I'm doing stereotypical, to the Democrats, it's not that the opportunities necessarily are equal, it's also that the access to the programs are equal. So equity and efficiency are two big pillars that we talk about in economics class all the time. And if you're efficient, if you love efficiency, then you are more inclined to not have government involvement in markets, and you want the and we'll describe what efficiency means a little bit later, but you want more that the markets just run themselves in terms of buyers and sellers meet and they agree to a price, and that price at the end of the day, at the end of everything that's brought to the market is sold at the market at that price, and that means everybody goes home happy, right? And so that's very efficient, and nobody had to tell the market how to do that. So if you're on the side of that kind of I don't know, economic governing system, then you don't get as much equity. And equity, of course, is where if all the stuff we make in our economy, I call it an economic pie. So you'll see me doing a circle a lot in terms of the economy. And you know how a pie can be sliced? So if we had 4 people in our economy, everyone would get a quarter of a slice of the pie. That would be perfectly equal. In political terms, that would mean communism, where we all get the same amount of the production in our economy. If you're talking about free markets, we don't end up with equal slices of the pie. We might all have the same opportunity to get an equal slice of the pie. So are you all familiar? Give me thumbs up. Are you all familiar with the board game Monopoly? What's the goal of Monopoly? Everybody starts the game with the same amount of money in the bank, right? And nobody owns anything, right? So we all start from the same position. What's the goal? It's in the title.
Monopolize.
To become the one, the only, the owner of everything in the game, right? So the game takes a long time to play, obviously, but the winner has all the money in the bank, owns all of the real estate, right? May have hotels, those little greenhouses on their properties, or I can't remember if the hotels are red or green. I can't remember. But the goal is to maximize the wealth of the one, right? So in a free market economy where if everyone would start out the same playing field, the goal is to own as much as you can. So in the free market world, we are all assumed to be going for the most we can get for the cheapest, for the least amount of cost to us. Now that's going to make our slices of the pie not very equal. So Bill Gates, for instance, has a much larger slice of the economic pie than Monica Zasworsky. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you're all closet millionaires and I just don't know about it. But for me, Bill Gates, just he and Jeff Bezos are like not even, my slice of the pie doesn't even show up. Their slices, shows up quite large, right? Because they're billionaires. So when we have an economy such as that, we could argue about whether that should be the case. Should there be inequality in our system? Or should everybody have the same slice of the pie? Now, in the middle of that, there's a mix. So we have communism on one side. We usually call that the left side. And we say that free market capitalism is on the right side, okay? And then in the middle, you have this mixed bag, which is, in political terms, is called socialism. But in economic terms, it's called mixed markets. It's where the free market systems are operating in many of the facets of our economy, but that we do have the government involved in controlling and maintaining some of our other markets. For instance, if you look at, let's take Sweden. I love that country, just because there's so much. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Sweden, but it is one of the cleanest places I've ever, and I've been to Germany and all kinds of places. It's very, very clean. And it is just like everyone, when you meet people, they're smiling, they're happy, and they have free healthcare. So they have a government that collects taxes and runs and maintains their healthcare system, so that every citizen, and actually any visitor, if you fall when you go visit Sweden and you go to the hospital there, you may not have a bill. So it's kind of weird for Americans to think about when we're there, but it can happen. I visited Honduras and Hungary, and not Honduras, I'm sorry, Hungary, and my daughter broke her finger, and we waited and waited and waited for a bill. And when it finally came, the hospital said, "We're sorry, this is $12, but we can't collect on it because we don't have any place in the system to get a payment, because in our system everybody's covered." So that system is a mix, right? It means that now Gripens are built. These are airplanes that are built by Sweden, Saab, IKEA, Swedish company. They're not controlled by the Swedish government. Okay, those are where the free market is operating in Sweden, and healthcare would be a place where an example of where the government is controlling the market. So America is not a perfectly free market economy. There is no such thing. There is no such thing as a purely communistic, or we call that command markets, where there's one entity that is controlling what gets produced, how much gets produced, and who gets it. So these are where I'm going to be teaching you about all of that spectrum, so that when you hear the vocabulary, if for instance you listen to marketplace.org, then you would understand what they're talking about. So this is a fun class. I try to make it a fun class. I got news coming out the wazoo every day. This is not talking about, we don't have to discuss history all the time. I could talk about what just happened this morning, and how it's going to affect your economy. So I'm going to tell you about how it affects our economy through some math and some graphs. So if you have not had math in a long time, I need you to go refresh your memory and your book has a good section of it. It's the appendix to chapter 1. Go and enlighten yourself again on how you find the slope to a line, how you find percentage change, because these are the main things we're going to be dealing with our class, plus multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And we want to talk about increases and decreases of lines, like what that looks like, what that means, those kinds of things. So if you need a little bit of a math review, please avail yourself to all the YouTube sites you can, Khan Academy, whatever, and because I don't teach math, okay? I assume you already know it. So it'll seem like it comes by really fast to you. So I want to make sure that you get a review on math skills if you need it, okay? Now, so what I'd like to do is I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to show you super quick how the course is laid out, okay? So I'm assuming that all of you know how to get to the Hack portal. And then once you get to the Hack portal, pick up on Brightspace right here and go into our course. And at the top of the page, just because I want you can email me, you can text me to that Google number that's listed there. You can come to office hours, obviously. Any way you can get a hold of me. I don't care what time it is. I'm frequently a night owl. Sometimes you'll see dates on your email, so it's after midnight. So I just work when I work. So if you are in any way, shape, or form, you come across a homework problem and you go, I don't understand. I cannot figure this one out. I've read the book. I've looked at the video about the assignment and I still don't understand it. Take a screenshot of the question, send it to me in an email and go, could you please meet with me to explain this? I can't meet during your office hour because I have work. So could you meet me at, I don't know, Tuesday at 4 o'clock? And I would go, yeah, sure, no problem if I can. So please contact me. If you have an issue with MindTap, you need to call the Cengage tech support, which is this number here. So anything that's technological, whether it's your browser that you're using, the graph doesn't show up on your screen, it's just a white screen, you get the circle of death on your screen, whatever it is, if it's technical, please don't ask me. You can inform me that you can CC me on anything. You can say, it's happening to me, I don't understand why. But I will not be the right person to come to go, well, what level of browser are you using? I will tell you that you want to use Chrome. Chrome works the best with these third-party platforms. So it works better than Safari. It works better than Mozilla. I put Mozilla Firefox as number 2. I put Safari as number 3. Internet Explorer and Edge down there at the bottom. So if you are, if you want to have the fewest amount of troubles, use Chrome. All right, so if you have any issues like that, call them because they know. They'll ask you, they have had so many issues that'll be just like yours that they can help you fix that problem. Whereas if you email me and wait for me to wake up and answer, you could have already solved the problem. They're not open 24/7, but they do have pretty wide hours that you can get help on. All right, so here's on the left-hand side is our meeting ID for Zoom. And then this next document here is when we get, or the instruction rather, says when we get to content, it'll show a MindTap module, and that gives you instructions. I also emailed you those same instructions, and so I'm hoping to see you all in MindTap in a few seconds. And then, that tells you how to get into the class. Sadly, I'm not able to embed Cengage into the D2L course shell, so you'll have to have either two windows or 2 tabs open between the two. We don't do much on D2L, but D2L becomes the closet. Okay, so D2L it's got all the drawers in it. So if there's a file like lecture slides that you need, it'll be in D2L. The Dropbox for some of your assignments are in D2L. Your tests are on D2L. But your homework grades and your and some of the other the stuff you're buying with MindTap, the practice problems and all that kind of stuff is all in MindTap. So I'm a true believer in voting. So if you do not have the ability to vote where you live, you can register to vote in Pennsylvania. And you can, if you're a Pennsylvanian, then you can this site is so easy to maneuver. And my other favorite thing about it is you can change parties all the time. So I don't think the Republicans or the Democrats or independents know what I am. I change parties occasionally, just usually right before a primary. I'll look to see who has the most choice, within the party that I want to vote for, so I can pick the candidate I want to run against the other side's candidate. And so I love that you can change parties and you don't have to stick to one or the other. But Pennsylvania is a primary party state. So when you go to the primary polls, like what you had in May, if you were a Republican, you got to see you got to choose between all the candidates that were running as Republican. And if you chose Democrat, you got to see all those candidates. So it's kind of fun to play around with that if you have a druther. Now, more resources. If you ever have questions about how to operate Zoom, if you have a question for D2L, is the Brightspace link. And then, of course, if you ever need virtual learning support, you can go to that other resource. Those will stay up all semester on D2L. This is a fun site if you want to just kind of see what our current unemployment rate is, what our current inflation rate is, what our current growth rate is. Actually, we are kind of coming out of our recession, but you can see how low did we go. Go look at March's numbers. And then, of course, if you need tutoring, we do have tutoring via Zoom. And I put it's March 23rd, but you can tell that's from last semester. Okay. I need to make myself a student. So then we have the next part of our course is under content. And if you're open on your own computer, go to content. And under content, you see that we have MindTap is the first one, and that's the instructions I emailed you to get onto MindTap. You do have to have an access code. So there's over 25 or about 20% of your grade is all on MindTap. And all the extra credit points. I'm a firm believer in insurance. So the way I teach insurance in my class is it's just like it is out in the real world. If you buy insurance for your car and you drive your car for the whole year, but you didn't have an accident or anything, yeah, you go, oh my gosh, I wasted all that money on insurance. Not really. You were buying a product to cover something you can't afford. So if you wrecked your car, you might not be able to afford to fix it. But if you had the insurance will help you come up with the money to fix your car. So after the accident is not the time when you can go buy the insurance for the past. You can't do that. So my class is the same way. So I have that you have insurance built in. I don't do curves or anything like that. If you guys have a bad day on your test, it happens sometimes. And I've got insurance work or extra credit work built into the system. If you do the work, it A, helps you study for the test, and B, puts points into your bucket towards that test. So they're over a letter grade each test. So if you did make a C on a test and you can't afford that because of the goal that you have for the grade in this class, then if you bought the insurance and you did the insurance work, then your grade now becomes a B. So it can be very, very good. All right, so in here we have the getting how to pass the classes. Mainly read your book. That's the number one thing I will tell you. Read your book and come to class. And then if you have questions, raise your hand and ask the question. Because odds are if you have the question, 6 other people in the class have the same question. And then we have, I haven't delved out because I wait till the last minute to do the groups for group presentations. I'll explain that in a minute when we go over the syllabus. So there's nothing in that module right now because I haven't made you into teams yet and I haven't figured out my topics. I try to make them as current as possible. So I try to do that pretty, like maybe in October. So you see that the assignments by test, we're going to go into the syllabus in just a minute. But I do everything in the course is organized by the test. So test 1 is test 1 materials. Okay, it's over 4 chapters. You're going to get really bored seeing these instructions, but I put them in every chapter just in case, I don't know, the student didn't see it in chapter 1, but saw it in chapter 12. So number 1, read the chapter. Number 2, do some or all the practice work that's in MindTap, which would include a practice quiz, for instance. And then when you get comfortable with the material and you've seen all the questions that can get asked of you, complete the homework so that you can get the best grade on the homework for your homework grade, which is like a test grade. It's 15% of your grade. Then you can take, it's a fantastic program in MindTap. You can take this adaptive test prep, which takes the test bank questions, exact same questions you could see on your tests, and it takes those questions, they're in a pool, and it selects out, like you said, I just want a test of 10 questions. You can make a test of 10 questions and then answer those. And then you can do it again and it'll scramble the questions. And it's like taking a new test every time. It's really, really cool. A way to see almost every type of question I can throw at you. You would see it in this adaptive test prep. So if you do the same thing for every chapter, and I didn't even put on here that you attend class. I should have put that on there, but I just assumed that's a given. You do the same thing for every chapter. You usually will do fine in the class. But here's the really big thing. If you don't feel like you understand the material, reach out for help. I am not a babysitter. I don't care what your grade is. It's not my journey. My job is to teach you the material. So if you're making an F, I will not be sending you an email that says, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z. I'll let you make an F through the entire semester. What is our class about? How to make choices. It shouldn't be me making the choice for you to pay attention to the class and grades and everything. That's your choice. So I will not babysit you is what I'm saying. So if you start out the class and you're not paying attention or you start out class, you're doing fantastic and you're making an A. Cool for you, but you will not see me sending you emails going, yay for you. That my job is for you to understand the choices that you're making, to study or not to study, or do well or not do well for my class. So that is where I come from. Also, I never drop a student from a class. So if you feel the need to drop my class, you need to be the one that goes to the Welcome Center to drop it. I won't drop it. If you need to withdraw with a W by a certain date, you'll get the email from the campus that tells you what the dates those are. I'm not going to put them all on my website for you to know if they're there. I'm expecting you to make the mature choice of knowing how PAC operates. Okay? So I give you a lot of leeway. All right, let's go back to the syllabus. And on the calendar on D2L, I just have everything as a placeholder. Okay, it doesn't link you to anything. It just says that, on today is the intro to the course. And on on Thursday, we're going to be doing chapter 1. Okay? So they're just trying to decide. If you don't make it to class, I want an email that says I'm not making it to class, just like this is a job for you. As a boss, I want to see, an email if you're not going to be here. So hopefully it'll come up here in just a minute. So here's our syllabus. This is my contract with you. So at the top of the syllabus, you see that we have, let's see if I can get it centered here. Oh, wait a minute. Whoa, she went nuts. And now my computer's frozen. Sorry about that. Okay. She's an older computer, so she struggles a little bit with trying to do Zoom and many screens open. So, all right. So just like on D2L, I try to organize my syllabus. So I have all my contact information, how to get into Cengage, and how to get into our different meetings. This is our course. Here's the book, and you have to have MindTap. So there is a 2-week trial that's free. If for some reason you don't have the funds to buy the access right now, there's no excuse to not get on Cengage. You can run the free 2-week trial, get your access code, and put it in next week when you buy the materials. Okay? So you can't, it doesn't hold water to me. I'm not extending grades and everything like that because you don't buy the book right now. That's the choice that you're making. So if you don't buy the access code, you can still get into the course and do the work and see the ebook, and you can still read, and you can maintain and catch up, or not even catch up. You can stay abreast of what we're talking about in class. So, but you do need to buy it, because after the 2 weeks goes by, or it's either 2 or 3 weeks, if you don't buy it, all the work you've done so far gets lost, and you get zeros for the rest of the semester. So not a good thing to not get the MindTap access. Here is what I'm contracted to teach you. So if I come in here and all I do is talk about my dogs the entire class, or what you're doing, and and maybe I talk about what's happening in the economy, or I rail against I don't know, Democrats, or I rail against Republicans, or I do weird stuff. This is what you tell my boss. She never talked about economic terms. She never talked about John Maynard Keynes or Adam Smith or any of the other, David Ricardo, Milton Friedman. She never talked about any of those guys. I'm sorry, women, it's mainly guys in our curriculum, because we don't always recognize the women who also did a lot of stuff for the furthering of economics field. Sadly, our books don't always mention that. So I will be making sure that every bullet point in this objective is covered in our class. Because I want to make sure that you understand and you're ready when you go to a 4-year college. If you decide to take another economics class, which might be take an intro to macroeconomics. The next step is intermediate economics, macroeconomics. And I want you to be prepared to take that class, so that if you walk into that class and the professor writes up or draws a demand and supply curves model on the board, you don't go, we never had to do that in my class. I don't want that. I want you to be prepared. So here are the types of assignments that I have in our class. There are 2 types on MindTap, those with due dates and those without due dates. The materials with due dates are either homeworks, which are required, or they're the insurance points that I'm going to go over here in a minute. They're the assignments that you do that put a point into your test bucket, so that when you take your test, you've already got up to, and I think the first test is something like 14 points. So if you do all those assignments, if you get 14 points added to your test score. If you don't do those assignments, it does not count against you in any way. It just means you get zeros, and then that way it doesn't count towards your test. That's all it's talking about. Everything else in MindTap is optional. It's that stuff that you want to do for practice. It gives you a great idea of self-assessment as to whether you understand the material or not. I don't care what assignment. If you have a question on it, take a screenshot of it, zap it to me. I will help you figure it out. I'll help you where it is in the book. I'll show you where it's in the book. I'll put it on a whiteboard for you. I will help you to understand it in whatever, oral, or visual sense you need it in, so that you can comprehend the material. I'll try to help you. We take 4 proctored exams in this course. Each of them is equally weighted, even though test 4 is over everything we've learned in the class, because we'll talk about opportunity cost from now until December. We'll talk about markets from now until December. Our first test has demand and supply on it. We'll talk about that from now until December. So it's comprehensive in terms that test 4 is going to use vocabulary that we learned about on test 1. But that's the nature of the macro course. So if you, but the last test is just over the new material. That's why every test is weighted the same. They each have a 15% weight. You'll need a calculator, but you can't use books and notes on the test. Zoom will be open. And the other cool thing about having Zoom open is the chat will be made so that you can only talk to me. So if you are taking the test and you have a question, number 26, is this a typo? I don't understand. Sure. Or you want to read it out loud. Remember, your your mics I'm going to be watching basically what you're doing. So if you want to read it to yourself, I'm okay with that. But if you want me to be a sounding board, because oftentimes the student comes up to me at the front of the classroom and goes, what do you mean by this? And as soon as they say it out loud and they see the answers, and I look at them and I go, I might say one word, or they'll just go, oh, I got it, no problem. And they go back to their desk, and they didn't really need me, but just saying it out loud made them think about it in a different way. So the Zoom, you can chat with me. I'll break you out into a breakout room. And in a breakout room, you can ask me a question. I answer your question. You go right back to the classroom, and we keep going on. So it's just like we are in the classroom together, and you are at your desks, and you raise your hand, and you ask me to come by your desk, or you come up front to ask me. Exactly the same way. The tests are multiple choice predominantly. There'll be about 40 questions on each test, and then you'll have a few short answer questions where you might have to describe a graph to me, or it's possible that I'll ask you to attach a picture of something you've drawn, and we'll get to that as we come across it. Then homeworks, they're also 15%. It's the average of the homework grades. They have due dates. If you don't do them by the due dates, you get a 0. Choices, people, choices. Participating in class discussions. So when I ask a question and it's just crickets out there, I'm not as impressed as if I would be, like, oh, so anyone have an answer? But the other thing that I do for class participation is we'll bring up some of those optional assignments on MindTap, and I'll just go, hey, Ben, what's the answer number 1? Yes, what's the answer number 2? Ezekiel, do number 3. And I'll just go through the class roster and ask you to answer the question. If we have a good session with that and we have fun with it, I will probably just be like, oh, this is a class participation day. And you'll see 100% stuck in your grade book, okay? Class discussions, everybody should have A's. If you're in class, you get the A. Even if you didn't get called upon to answer a question, you still get the A just for being there. So class discussions should be no problem with getting an A. And actually homework shouldn't be really a problem for getting an A either, because you can, you have the ability to have your book open and your notes open while you're taking the homework. So, you should be able, and you can take a lot of time. It's not timed. So you can take a lot of time to do the homework as well, as long as you get it in before the due date. And then finally, there's a team presentation. Each person in class gets put on one team. That team gets given a cool topic. For instance, how does the legalization of marijuana add to our economic pie? That's a fun topic, right? Or it might be, how did shutting down the economy, shutting down bars, shutting down socially gathering places such as football stadiums, how's no football in the NCAA going to impact our economy? Or I could go in the past and I could say, how did the no March Madness impact our economy? That might be the topic. You'll go out, you'll find 3 or 4 news sources as a team. Then you'll do a PowerPoint presentation slide and educate the class on the issues of, should we have canceled March Madness, or should we have run with March Madness and just taken the risk of death? What's the value of life? How did they come up with those calculations? How did schools come up with a calculation of to have class on campus versus having class on Zoom? That could be a topic. And your job is to educate us on both sides, and so that we can have a good discussion at Thanksgiving with our families. If we go, well, you know what, there was this paper in class that was presented that was really interesting about why let's say that your great Aunt Martha is talking about how, when she was a child, gas was only a quarter a gallon. And she doesn't understand why it's $2.25 a gallon now, and we're going to hell in a handbasket, and it's just it's terrible. It's terrible out there because gas was 25 cents when I was 15, and now it's $2.25. you're going to learn how to use an inflation calculator to show her that 25 cents back in, say, I said she was great, Aunt Martha. So let's say in 1926 or 1932, she bought her first tank of gas. I'll show you that we could be better off, worse off, or the same as she was in that tank. So cool discussion topics for Thanksgiving. But I want you to be able to have a discussion with no emotion. You can get emphatic all you want, but I don't want you to be like, that's ridiculous and horrible and terrible. Because that closes the door to understanding the other side's issues. And I don't want that. I want you to be able to have discussion, educated, and if you don't know the answer, you can go, where did you get that statistic from, Great Aunt Martha? Because I've got this little calculator, and show her. You might be wrong or you might be right, but you both get to have a discussion about it. You're both heard and listened to and validated. And that's what I want for my government as well. So you'll do Google Slides, or PowerPoint slides. You present them to the class. There's 100%. There's 15% of your grade. So you should be able to get 40% of your grade should be in it. That leaves 60% of your grade for those tests that you might knock one out of the park, and you might, not do so well on one more. I tell you that test 1 is a lot easier than test 2, test 3, and test 4. Test 4 is hard. Okay, because it requires you to remember all the stuff from test 1, test 2, test 3 in terms of vocabulary and understanding the shifts of a line, movement along a curve, and all those other kinds of things. So I'm not gonna whitewash it for you. It gets harder as we go. But so that's why I give you all this insurance work. So the insurance work is, they're called what's wrong with this diagram in MindTap. They're called numbers and graphs. Now, not every chapter has a what's wrong with this diagram. Don't panic. There's a couple of them that don't have an assignment like that. They just didn't, the publisher didn't make one. Sometimes it'll just be a video, like the intro to MindTap. If you watch that video to learn how MindTap works, ding, 1 point goes into your test bucket. If you do a math review, ding, 1 point goes into your test bucket. The other insurance point is an adaptive test prep. There's one for each chapter. I will teach us how to use that in class. But it's great. You just have to have them all done by the due date. It's just like buying insurance. The due date is the crash, the flood, the earthquake, the hurricane. That's the due date. So if you didn't buy the insurance before the bad thing happens, it's too late. And you can't go backwards in time to get insurance. So, get them in. Oh, I was wrong. I said 14 points. It's really 18 points. So if you do the work, you're going to be studying for your test simultaneously, and you will add 18 points to your test grade. So if you got 100% on the test, you'd have 118% on your test grade to average with the other 3 tests. So I think it's pretty fair. I don't round grades up at all, and I don't curve any grades. So it's all up to you to do that. That's where the bonus point comes in. I do not round up your grade. So if you have an 89.99999 average after you take test 4, you get a B. You will send me an email and you will say, is there anything I can do to bump that grade up to an A? And I will say, yes, there was insurance you could have purchased during the semester. That insurance is called a bonus point. That bonus point adds to your final calculated grade. So if you had an 89.999 at the end of the semester and you did the bonus point, you now have an 90.9999 and you've got an A, no problem. The bonus point is a super duper hard assignment. It can be torturous, depends on who you pick to listen to or watch. You're going to pick a State of the Union address that's done by a president. You could choose President Trump, or you could choose all the way back to President Washington. they've been required since the Constitution was written to report to Congress the State of the Union once a year. It's in January. So you could pick to read one if it's you pick a president before 1967, like let's say you pick Andrew Jackson or Abraham Lincoln, you will only be reading their speech. I want you to pick out 3 economic points, and there's going to be plenty of economic points, but just 3 of them. And tell me why what intrigued you about those 3 economic points, and what do you think about them? Why did those 3 in particular strike you as interesting? Maybe you pick a president in the past, like maybe you pick President Obama, and you go, wow, this thing is still the same problem we had in 2000 as it is in 2020. I mean, so you could, I don't care which one you pick. So you write that, it takes about 10 minutes to do this assignment, unless you choose to watch a State of the Union address, and then you got to deal with all the clapping, because lots of clapping. So I think President Trump's was an hour and 29 minutes. So if that's the one you choose, then your assignment will take an hour and 29 minutes and 10 minutes to write the assignment. So, but like I said, I don't care which president you choose. So that, remember, that's your insurance for the end of the course. When the whole course is over, if you've bought that insurance, you get that point added to your average for the grade. So please be mindful, I do not round up your grades. So here's the makeup. I told you in words above it, and now you got it in a table. Then this is just course management. So if you ever go, I don't know where to get started. I don't know what she's talking about. Go to your syllabus, because I will tell you it's in the syllabus. It's in the syllabus. It's in the syllabus to figure it out. So here's how you can do the best in my class is looking at these assignments, attend class regularly, do the insurance work, email me if you can't make it, or if you're, these recordings, hopefully, if my computer has enough hard drive space, I'm going to upload them and then put them on a YouTube channel and give you the link to them. That takes me a little bit of time, so it won't be like 5 minutes after class. I have another class after this. So it won't be like 5 minutes later, the recording's available. Probably wait 24 hours. And then the link should be on D2O. I don't do makeup tests at all. Okay? So if you're not here in class on the dates that we have tentatively scheduled for the tests and you can't make it, you need to email me first that you're not going to make it. If I don't get an email or no communication from you and you don't make it to a test, even if you have no technology is your issue, then go, figure out a way to get your phone to where you can get cell service or a landline and call the number that's at the top of your syllabus to leave me a message that says, I can't attend class because my internet's down and I don't know how to get to McDonald's, or or you can't sit in McDonald's right now, whatever it is. So I do know that if you have a broken computer, Hack will lend you a free computer for the semester. I do know that there are hotspots available. So if you have intermittent technology issues, Hack can give you a hotspot for the semester. I do know that we are trying very hard that if you have a technological issue, you can go to the bookstore and tell them what your problem is, or call Hack IT support, and you will get served in some way. You will either get a free, a computer to use, a hotspot to use, a mouse, a camera, a web camera, whatever. You don't have to go buy the equipment necessarily, because it is probably first come, first serve, but let the campus know that you've got that issue and you can, be ready to go. Once again, waiting until the test day to discover all of that is a choice. Okay, so there are consequences to our choices. Same thing is, if you cannot get on a computer to Zoom with me, but your phone can have the app of Zoom, or you can just use your cell service to call into the class and you can hear my lecture. Okay, and then you could watch what's happening on the screen later. Okay, so I gave you many different ways to get into the class. So if you don't come to the test and you've emailed me saying, I don't know, maybe someone in your family had to go to the hospital and you had to go with them. I understand those kind of things. Email me that. It's between you and I don't announce it to class or anything. But when you do that, there's not a makeup. What happens is the average of the other 3 tests that you take will be averaged before insurance points are added. And then the insurance points that you did for that test will be added. So I find that this works well every time. Most students stick with, if you make an A on the first test, most students make an A, the rest of the tests. And I don't usually find that people flunk one test, make an A on the next test, make an F on the next test, make an A on the, I don't find that. It doesn't happen. So you can only do this opportunity to average the other 3 test scores one time. And you can't do it for test 4. So everybody has to show up on the day of finals. Okay? Don't have to worry about other makeups because it's all done on due dates. You have a week to 2 weeks to get things done. Choices, more choices. So you have time. You just have to monitor your time and put your dates somewhere. Academic honesty, don't cheat. We have no problem. Cell phones. This probably came from, I didn't correct this completely. If you're using your phone as a calculator, and I can't, I don't know, you show me your phone at the beginning of the test and I see it's got the calculator app open, I'm not going to say you're cheating. Okay, so if that's the only calculator you have, fine. So I just try to not have people use their phones because sometimes you can't tell whether they're in class. I can't tell whether you're typing a question or whether you're, scrolling through for notes or you're using your calculator. But in this instance, if you show me that you have the phone on it as a calculator, I'll, and maybe even on, I'll have to try to trust you. So almost everything you ask me, I'll probably say per your syllabus and then go over it. I just love that Thomas Jefferson might have said, crap, that's due tomorrow. So look at your calendar dates clearly. As far as accommodations go, Vicki Van Heis is your student access services director. And if you need anything, and I tell every student, don't be in any way scared of that office. Go to that office if you feel that you have any issues with test taking, performing your best in any class, not just mine, and go ask her to see if you qualify for any extensions of time on tests, any kinds of accommodations. Check with that. All right, so the last page of your syllabus is your tentative course calendar. I recommend that you print this one page out, okay? Put it somewhere, I don't know, where you can see it all the time so that you see what chapters we are covering when. Then you will know that on MindTap, the chapter 1 work will be due a week after I cover it. So August 27th, you'll see chapter 1 stuff is due on September 3rd. Chapter 2 stuff is due on September 8th. Chapter 4 stuff is due on the test day. Okay? I've tried to pad the calendar with a little bit of extra time so that you can have either a review period if we've gone through everything, or if we had a particular difficult topic where we had lots of questions and things like that, and I didn't get all the way through the material, then we will have a week of or a class of wiggle room. Okay, so I tentatively have scheduled that your first test is going to be on September 15th. October 8th is test 2. November 5th is test 3. And then we have presentations done the week of Thanksgiving. And also please make note in your calendars that on October 13th, I'm not going to be on Zoom. So I know that there will be 1 or 2 of you who will pop in on Zoom and you'll send me an email going, you weren't on Zoom today. Where was class? Okay, we have a fall break. It's October 12th and 13th. So please put that on your calendar, and then also put out that Wednesday, the 26th the 25th of November after 4:30. If you had a night class, don't go. And then you have Thanksgiving Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. And then we'll come back on Monday. Okay? And then we have a week between Thanksgiving and when finals start. And then your test, I don't know what date it is because it won't be till October or so, end of October, that HAC comes out with the final schedules. And so when that happens, I'll put it on the right date and time will be on MindTap and D2L as soon as we get that calendar. Okay? Any questions so far on the syllabus for me? Okay, crickets, and I don't. Sometimes now I can only see 6 of you at a time, and I do try to scroll through. So if you did raise your hand and I didn't answer or respond, it's because I'm only seeing 6 of you at a time. So please verbalize it if you can. All right, so I think I've covered D2L. If you have any questions, there's a D2L resource. Under resources, you can get extra help for just D2L. Like, where do I find X? How do I maneuver with the calendar? That's all on D2L too. Also, you pay for a tutoring center called Smart Thinking on D2L, and they too have it's any time of day or night. You can get find a tutor, and sometimes you can get the same tutor over and over again. So you can definitely use that. And it's I think it's all done with chats, but you can also, I think, have verbal contact with the person as well. All right, can everybody see my screen from MindTap? Yes? Okay. So when you get into MindTap, when you pay for the course and get into the course, or if you just get the free trial for the course from that email that I sent out, then this is what you come to. I recommend that you can expand all, which opens up every part of our course into a big list. So you could do that, or you could just do it by test, in which case you would do getting started and part 1, and you see here's test 2, right? So you just want to have the assignments maybe open for you. So if I open this one, all these little arrows mean that there's more stuff underneath. So that's what they're called, carrots. Okay? So they open up all of every opportunity you have to practice on reading economic questions and understanding what they mean and what they want and answering them. Okay? The other thing that you can do is up here at the top, this is called in this circle, this is called the outline view. That is this part of the course. I can also look at a calendar view. The calendar view can be misleading because it makes you think that there's nothing to do in my class. And so you go, there's nothing to do. Look, we don't even have an assignment due till the Thursday, the 27th. I'm good. That is not what's happening. You need about 2 hours for every lecture that I do to read the chapter yourself and do some of the assignments in MindTap. So even though there's nothing due, it doesn't mean that there's nothing to do. All right, so that's why I recommend, and I have it set, that it opens up the course into the outline view for you. All right, now you see all this how to do homework assignments. You see a due date, and you see 1. And you also see this little description that says insurance point. That means if you do that, you get an insurance point towards your test 1 grade. I tried to go through and I marked everything that is insurance point, and I put things that were practice and don't count. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do them. It just means that they don't count towards the grade. They're self-assessment. These economics in 5 minutes are video portions that Dr. Arnold has put together for you. He's actually kind of entertaining. Talking economics, he usually also has a problem that he is going to be doing on a whiteboard, and he will teach you how to do some of the issues in the chapter. The interactive book, your ebook is on, and I know I'm going a little bit over, sorry, but over here on the right, you'll see this blue book. That is your link to the textbook. And it opens up, at least I believe it opens up just half a way across. So you could have your book open and the assignment open at the same time. And you can have the book read to you, which is kind of cool if you're cooking or something like that, but you want to, be reading your economic book. You can have it read to you. It's a little cheesy with a computer voice, but it's not too bad. Remember when I told you what insurance points were called? What's wrong with this diagram? And then under the homework and resources are the numbers in the graphs. And then here's the adaptive test prep at the bottom of the section of the chapter. Okay. When you open the assignment, it will show you the, the assignment will be over here on this page, on this side of the page. On the right-hand side is your dashboard. You've got a toolbox that has just what your content is. If you had more than one course in Cengage, for instance, that would be listing there. Your notes, if you took notes on our class and you wanted to do it all online, you could have it in Cengage. I don't have any RSS feeds, but if I wanted to put marketplace.org in there, I think I could. I just don't ever use it. Here's a glossary of all the terms in the textbook. Applia, these are the, Applia are the, I believe, those are the practice quizzes. So if you wanted to just check on this, it would just show you. I don't ever use it. I use the book, and I will use the grade book. Okay. Oh, there's also a cool thing called flashcards, which is also a great way you can make your own, or you can use the ones that they provide for you. Progress is your grade book. Your grade book is organized by, now I'm just gonna, I can't, well, we do have 3 people in the grade book, and I would, I need more people. This means only 3 people are in MindTap at this point in time. So you can look at the roster. So if for instance, if you, let's say that Crystal and Callie were in the same team for their presentation, they could be in the, they could just click here and then have their email addresses, and they can click on this little envelope and email each other. The course in your grade book is set out in terms of homework. So if you click on the homework, this shows you all the homework grades as they come up. The group participation, of course, shows you the hand grade in there. Here's your test 1. And when you start filling in and taking assignments, they will start finding their way in here. And the only reason the upcoming assignments is empty because they only go 7 days into the future, and we don't have anything next Monday that's due because I don't have a test on what we're talking about today. Or not a test, but an assignment. Okay? And you haven't submitted anything yet, so you can't see your progress. So, that being said, I'm sorry I've gone over a little bit. Does anybody have any questions for me? Okay, if you're good and you think this is still a place you made a choice that you still want to take my class, then I will see you Wednesday. Please read chapter 1. Okay,